Welcome. Thanks so much for joining our webinar, Advice from Alumni, the New Zealand edition. My name is Kate Hilby. I am the Associate Director of Enrollment Management here at TEEN. And today I'm joined by some of our fabulous alumni to share more about what you should know before studying abroad in New Zealand. So also with us today from TEEN is Maza Petros. She's our program manager for New Zealand, so monitoring the chat, and we'll be dropping in helpful links along the way, as well as answering any questions you put in the chat. So feel free to drop your questions in the chat anytime throughout our presentation here or our chat today. Maza is our program expert on all things New Zealand, so after you apply in our system, you'll work with her directly for smooth sailing to get you over to New Zealand. So just before we hear from our alumni, let's just take a quick look at what New Zealand has to offer on the TEEN programs. All right, so first, why we love New Zealand. There's so many reasons, right? New Zealand cities, you'll recognize how respectful and positive Kiwis are. Also, Kiwis is what New Zealand people are called. This profound understanding of warmth, open-mindedness, and kindness can be traced back to the Maori people, which are the indigenous people of New Zealand. There's an incredible sense of community in New Zealand, and everybody is so welcoming. So it is pretty easy to make friends with the locals. The next is island vibes. So if you're looking for a more laid back semester compared to maybe what things are like in the US, New Zealand is a great place to reset and take a break. The New Zealand lifestyle is rather relaxed compared to the States. If you are eager to recharge and find peace in a slower paced destination, New Zealand is the perfect next adventure for you. And next, of course, we have wanderlust. So I'm really not kidding, and our alumni can attest to this. When we say the backdrops in New Zealand, your photos are going to look like green screens, and it is unreal. So you can explore the North Island, South Island to experience all the jaw-dropping views New Zealand has to offer. So when you're not attending classes or papers, as some of the universities call them in New Zealand, you can hike and backpack some of the best trails in the world. So from Fiordland National Park down in the South Island, the Coromandel, to explore. And finally, city life. So one of the best parts about living in New Zealand is its different cities. If you're looking for a busier metropolitan way of life, then Auckland is a great place for you. If you're curious about New Zealand's quirky artsy scene, be sure to check out Wellington. And if you're searching for more of a small town university vibe, Dunedin is definitely the move for you. There are so many city options in varying size, you're bound to find the perfect fit. And also, no matter what city you choose to call home, you're so close to all of New Zealand's beautiful natural gems. And since New Zealand is quite small, it's really easy to travel to all. Okay, so we'll just touch a little bit on orientation. So exploring Auckland and Rotorua, and then Queenstown and Milford Sound. So if you're going on a TEEN program, you'll have an orientation to start off your semester. So for the spring, it's in Queenstown and Milford Sound, and in fall, it's in Auckland and Rotorua. So you'll get to meet the other TEEN students that are on your program, meet the on-site staff, and go through information sessions to set you up for a successful semester, and also get to experience a lot of the natural beauty that New Zealand has to offer. So a great way to kick off the program. Okay, now we can talk a little bit about our options. So we work with all 8 universities in New Zealand across 6 different cities. So there's certainly something for everyone, and that's something that Maza and I can both help you kind of choose from. So Auckland, Hamilton, Wellington, Palmerston North, Christchurch, and Dunedin, each destination has a personality all of its own. So we'll start with Auckland, kind of towards the top of the North Island. So it's home to New Zealand's most iconic skyline, New Zealand's largest city, and it's the most diverse city as well. There's 1.7 million people out of about 5 million people in New Zealand. So it's also known as the city of sails, and it's right on the harbor. So you're always seeing sailboats going by, and just really beautiful as it's surrounded by water. If you're looking for an adventure outside of the water, you can bungee jump from the Sky Tower if you're one of those adventure seekers as well. So next we'll go a little bit south to Hamilton. So it's centrally located on New Zealand's North Island. Hamilton makes it super easy to take advantage of New Zealand, all of what New Zealand's North Island has to offer. So you can explore the magical landscapes of the North Island, from the black sand beaches to the snow-capped mountains, and also then, of course, participate in. And it's just 90 minutes away from Auckland, but you have access to everything the North Island has to offer, but without those kind of like big city costs. All right, we'll jump down a little bit further south in the North Island. So Wellington is named the coolest little capital of the world by Lonely Planet not too long ago. It's New Zealand's kind of quirky, artsy culture capital of the country. So if you're a foodie, if you love a good cup of coffee, appreciate museums and art and music and theater, Wellington is an amazing city for you. If you're looking to get outside, there's also a 25-acre botanical garden in Wellington, and it's also a really nice mix of kind of like the outdoors, but still having like a vibe as well. And then we move to Palmerston North. So that's situated on the banks of the Manawatu River within the green hills of the area's sheep and dairy district. Palmerston North is also known as the student city, with half of its population below the age of 25. So super young population, which makes it quite fun. There's always something going on, and Palmy is also a great nature hub as it's near Tongariro National Park and other great nature spots as well. Okay, we'll jump down to the South Island now. So the first city we'll talk about is Christchurch. Christchurch is going through an exciting transition, and students will surely get sucked into the undeniable buzz of the city. So there were several earthquakes back in 2011. And so the city is like continuing to rebuild and reinvent itself. So it's no longer just the quaint town it used to be. And instead, the country's third largest city is reinventing itself as a thriving community based around innovation and design. It encourages creative building solutions and a vibrant art scene. And it's also a great location if you want to be like out hiking and going to like Mount Cook National Park. So just a really good spot for those outdoor activities too. All right, last and certainly not least, we have Dunedin. So known as Dunners to the locals, Dunedin is the ultimate college town. So there's incredible wildlife, natural attractions, including the world's rarest penguin colonies and one of the country's best preserved Victorian and Edwardian cities. So Dunedin is a rare place where like history, culture, nature are all like really closely intertwined. So you can make the most of your college town's eclectic cafes and outdoor activities. So you can basically be off campus, maybe like 15, 20 minutes and be like hiking or surfing. So great place for those outdoor activities. And with so many partner universities, like I mentioned, we worked with all 8 universities in New Zealand. No matter what you're hoping to study, we do have a number of options to meet your course needs too. And then just a little note about housing. So the housing is all arranged managing. Most are apartment styles with single bedrooms, which is nice. And you'll be within like a shared flat, but it does kind of depend on which university you choose. Okay, we can meet the team now. Starting to get to almost to the alumni part. So meeting the team. So for me and Maza, we're based here in the US. So we'll help you from the moment you apply or have an advising session with us. We'll help you from really start to finish. So we'll kind of guide you step by step throughout the entire application and pre-departure process. We use our 6 steps to study abroad. So we'll kind of like give you a slow release of information so it's not through things like course selections, your housing selections, booking flights, the exciting part, applying for your student visa, kind of all those big things throughout the process. And then also our New Zealand team is incredibly robust and includes in-country staff members ready to support you from the moment you get off the plane until you're heading back home. And they're always eager to lend an ear or share their favorite local spots, or in case of an emergency, they're also there to support you through that too. So our on-site staff also plan excursions and activities that are included in your program fees. And these are a great way to experience the local culture, venture outside the city a little, know your 13 students. And you can see some of our staff members there too. All right, so funding facts, love it. So just some things to consider when looking at funding your program. So if you're an out-of-state student, going abroad might be the same price or cheaper than staying at your home institution. Things like financial aid. So if you use financial aid already at your home institution, you'll definitely want to check in with your financial aid advisor or your financial aid office to see if study abroad program. Same goes with scholarships. If you have a scholarship at your home university, definitely have a conversation with your financial aid office or your study abroad advisor to see kind of like if those funds can also be applied to study abroad. And of course, you'll definitely want to look at a budget. So consider getting maybe a job and planning ahead of time and saving a bit if you can before your semester, and maybe asking family for funding instead of gifts the next holiday season or birthday. All right, so what's next? So if you haven't applied already, we strongly, or even if you have recently applied, we strongly encourage you to set up an advising appointment with Maza or myself, and our team can help you narrow down the options for the right program that fits what you're looking for academically and outside of the classroom as well. So Maza's going to drop some links in the chat if you do want to book appointments with our team. And then once you've chosen your program, you'll need to apply with us as well as your home university. So definitely check in with your home university study abroad office and be sure to stay in touch with them as they'll help you kind of go along the process on your home university side of things. And then once you apply through Teen, again, our program managers, Maza and myself, hey, it's time to meet our alumni. So if you're just starting out or already enrolled for your program, we think it's always helpful to talk to someone who's been there and done it, quite recently. So we're happy to connect you with one of today's panelists or someone from our alumni network to answer your questions. So again, Maza's dropping some helpful links in the chat. The moment you've all been waiting for. It's time to meet our alumni who all have firsthand experience with studying abroad in New Zealand. So if you've been holding on to any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat now. We'll be monitoring the chat, and then we'll have a Q&A session after we hear from our alumni a little bit. All right, first, I think we should do some introductions. So for our alumni, if you can share your name, your home university, and where and when you studied abroad, that would be fabulous. Kylie K, let's start with you.
All right, so my name is Kylie Kwok. I'm a sophomore at California Lutheran University, and I studied at the University of Auckland. Oh, yeah, fall semester. Thank you.
All right, we'll kick it over to Jamie. How about you go next?
All right, I'm Jamie Nichols. I study at Messiah University, and I was in Dunedin last fall.
And then Kylie J.
Hello, I'm Kylie Jackson. I'm studying at the University of Mary Washington in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and I also studied in Dunedin last fall.
Yeah, so both and Jamie had our first group back after the borders opened after COVID. So we're super excited to have them on our panel. And then sometimes we're also able to have students who are currently abroad join our panels as well. So Sam, can you tell us where you are in New Zealand and just introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, hi, I'm Sam. I study at the University of Auckland currently, and here I am.
Great, perfect. Okay, so let's start with an easy one. So why did you choose your particular city in New Zealand? Kylie Jackson, do you want to start and let you chose Dunedin?
Sure. I chose Dunedin because I wanted a kind of smaller, town kind of feel, and I wasn't into the big city. And also it's really close to a lot of really interesting and unique wildlife, and I'm doing conservation biology, so it's a great way to see some really cool animals and some really cool scenery. And it's also on the closest city to the west coast, which has a bunch of the cool mountains and hikes and stuff too. So
perfect. Yeah, that sounds like a perfect location for you. Jamie, same to you. Why did you choose Dunedin?
So I don't actually think I had a choice to go to Dunedin or not. It was the only program that my university offered, but I mean, it was great. Like Kylie said, it's got beautiful scenery, and you can do basically everything there. So highly recommend it.
Awesome. Yeah, and that brings up a good point, checking with your home university to see what programs are approved, so that it might narrow down your choices a little bit there too. Sam, what drew you to Auckland, or why did you choose the University of Auckland or Auckland?
I've always enjoyed the city life. I love the busy environment and just meeting a bunch of different people from a bunch of different backgrounds. Yeah.
Perfect. Great. And then Kylie, why did you choose Auckland? Kylie K.
Like Jamie, the University of Auckland was the only option available for me at my university. But I chose New Zealand because I just thought it was such a beautiful place. It's definitely been on my list of like destinations that I wanted to go to for a really, really long time. And then of course, being from Hawaii, there's a lot of similarities in culture between the Hawaiian and the Maori culture. So I thought that was really appealing as well.
Great. Perfect. So even after you decide where you want to go, which can sometimes be complicated, or can be a lot of options to choose from, studying abroad can still be a little bit daunting. So Sam, can you tell us a little bit about what your biggest concern was leading up to your program?
My biggest concern was Cyclone Gabrielle. It definitely, the flights were a little hard. I mean, a lot of them were canceled or delayed. I was stuck in Auckland for orientation. I didn't make it to Queenstown because of the cyclone. And a lot of other people didn't make it to the orientation either. So that was my biggest concern, but I think next semester that probably won't be a concern for many of you guys. So yeah.
Yeah, we're hoping just happened to be a bit of bad timing there with the cyclone hitting on our arrival days. So we know that credits can be a deciding factor on whether or not students think studying abroad is worth it, or if they can go abroad. So Kylie K, do you have any advice for students who are on the fence about going abroad because of academics or credits?
Yeah, I would just encourage you to just check in with your academic advisor at your home university and just make sure that the courses that you're taking abroad match up completely with something you'd be taking at your home university. So I know for one of my really close friends, she had a hard time transferring back a lot of her environmental studies credits just because the University of Auckland offered more social science stuff. So she didn't really check in with her advisor to make sure that everything was going to substitute exactly. So I would just say communicate with your home university and also the University of Auckland to make sure that your credits are in order.
Great. Yeah. And Maza and I are both here to help if you need syllabi, or you need your home university needs any of those sorts of details too. So we're happy to help there. Jamie, same to you. What was your main concern when it came to studying abroad as you were getting all prepared?
Yeah, so I had an issue with credits. I needed to take a microbiology class, and it that was the one thing that I needed to get done while I was in New Zealand, if nothing else. And so just like Kylie said, making sure that the credits they have are transferable, and also making sure that you're looking in the right semester, because it's flip-flopped. So if you're looking for something for the fall semester in America, it's going to be the second semester in New Zealand. So making sure you have that is super important, because you don't want to sign up for classes that you don't have. And then also making sure if you have any grade requirements, making sure that because it's a totally different grading scale. An A is an 80 to 100. It's really nice actually, but you got to know what you need to have to transfer back into your university. So that was my main worry.
Yeah, great. And then Kylie Jackson, what about you? What was your
So I actually had really hard difficulty with classes, because the way you sign up for classes at the University of Otago in Dunedin is a lot different, where you kind of pick classes and then the professors have to go in and approve it, and so you don't know immediately, and they also don't know the times of the classes, and so you can have time classes that happen all the time. So when you're picking classes, make sure you have backup upon backup upon backup of classes, because I only ended up taking one class that I had originally planned for. because of that. But it all worked out fine. But yeah, so that's my advice, is just prepare for backup plans.
Yeah, having backups and alternative options is always super helpful, especially for those enrollment issues like any timetable clashes or prerequisites and approvals. Okay, so let's talk about making friends. So this is something we do hear a lot from students, like making friends, meeting locals each semester. So students often join different university and social groups while they're on campus. Once they're kind of settled in. So Jamie, can you tell us a little bit about some of the groups you joined and how it helped you kind of like find your people?
Yeah. Well, first of all, my main group, Kylie was actually part of it. My roommates were my backbone in Dunedin. I think it'll probably be different, well, with the COVID restrictions going back, but we're all from America, and we all knew that we wanted to do stuff together. So there was no like, oh, I don't know if I like really want to go there. So I was like, we're going on this trip, let's do it. This is gonna be so fun. So that was great. And then joining a church group and having that group in Dunedin, it was a huge, like, it opened doors to like meet other people and just meet people with cars, honestly, too. That's something that you're really going to want to do, because then you can just try so many more different things in the city that you wouldn't have been able to do in the first place. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Kylie Jackson, what about you?
Yeah, same, piggybacking off of Jamie. Like we both found really good community in the church that we went to in Dunedin, but also through volunteering. I did a lot of volunteering, like with like restoration projects and like conservation projects on Saturdays and Sundays and stuff. And I've met so many people through that, and I made some really close friends just by getting out in the community and doing work and stuff. So
yeah, that's awesome. Kind of getting outside of like maybe the university community and getting out into the Dunedin community. Nice. So Sam, over to you. Since you kind of just recently arrived in New Zealand, what has it been like connecting with other students? I know it's a bit unconventional start for you, but
It's been really great. My roommates are all from different countries, so that's really cool to have non-Americans in my room. Um, I have met a couple people at like little local functions in our building complex. It'll be like ice cream social, so you'll meet a bunch of different people from a bunch of different countries there. And I'm hoping when university starts to join a couple clubs, so like the hiking club or like the kayaking club, to meet more locals.
perfect. Yeah, that's a great way to get involved and meet locals. And during the orientation week on campus, all the different clubs and societies will have their different tents out, so you can join the different clubs that way. Kylie K, kind of transitioning, how did teams orientation and excursions kind of help with making friends, finding community within the teen group?
Yeah, of course. So the teen orientation was really, really helpful because you got to meet like a lot of other students also from the US going on the same exact experience as you, trying to get adjusted to New Zealand life and culture. So I thought that the orientation was really great because then all of us were like thrown into it. So we all kind of became really like close at the start of it. So throughout the semester and stuff, I always had them like as a form of support.
Perfect. And so that is a great point. Like orientation can be a great way to make friends. So what was your favorite part about orientation? Kylie K, we'll stick with you.
Oh my God, there was so much, there was so much that we did during orientation, but definitely the Hobbiton tours are really cool. Going to Rotorua and then getting to do like all our activities, like all on our own. Like I think we went to a Polynesian spa, me and my friends. And then of course, like I think we went to Hamilton and then we did like the whole Hamilton Gardens thing. And we also learned like a Maori cultural haka, which I thought was really cool because in Hawaii we have hula, which is really, really different. And Maori haka is more like strong and like you have to like kind of like expose yourself in that sort of way, which I thought was a little embarrassing at first, but like once you get into it, like you start to like appreciate it and things like that, and you like really go for it.
Awesome. How about you, Jamie? What was your favorite part of orientation?
Definitely Hobbiton. If you get the chance to do it, even if you're not doing it in orientation, you have to go. I went twice, not 2 times with orientation, but once afterwards, and it was just absolutely incredible. If you are a fan of the movies at all, or even just a fan of movie and how movies are made and all the set stuff that has to go into that, it's absolutely fantastic. And then Rotorua, we went zorbing, which is you just rolling down a hill in a really big ball. It was fantastic. It was Kylie and I, our first bonding moment, and it was just so ridiculous and a great way to like really kind of like get over those inhibitions of I met this person yesterday and I'm rolling down in a ball with her and it's fine. Like that's just what it's gonna be like in New Zealand.
I love that. Kylie J, over to you. Similar highlight?
Yep, pretty similar. Hobbiton, definitely one of the best cool things I did. And then zorbing was also really fun. And then also we went to the redwood forest in Rotorua, which is really cool. And you get to go on like in these like treetop bridges and stuff, and it gives you like Ewok vibes, you know, from Star Wars. It's pretty cool. And but yeah, I had a really fun time in Rotorua and Auckland.
Great, great. And then Sam, orientation looked a little different this year, as you've already alluded to. The cyclone kind of impacted your travel plans for getting to Queenstown. So can you talk a little bit about what Teen has been doing to support you and the other students currently abroad that weren't able to, make it to kind of the more formal orientation down in Queenstown, but went directly to your host city?
It's been pretty great. I met a group of us at the airport on our way to Queenstown or trying to get to Queenstown. And so we sat in the airport for a little bit having food and bonding. And then afterwards, we walked around the city together. I had a buffet, which was super cool, a really expensive hotel buffet. We went to the Sky Tower, which is like where you kind of bungee jump off, which is super cool. We went to art museums, just super cool stuff to walk around the city. Teen, for students who weren't based in Auckland, they were provided with hotel and transportation to the airport, which is super cool, super nice. They really enjoyed that. Yeah.
Activities coming up later today too, kind of some makeup orientation sessions too. So won't keep you too long. So when the weather is cooperating, orientation is also a great way to discover the place you'll call home for the semester. But then once you're settled into your host city, were you able to explore kind of like your region, like the city, the region around your city, that sort of thing? And any advice for students looking to do this? We hear a lot of students wanting to travel a lot. So Kylie Jackson, what do you think about that?
So just to reiterate the question, like how I adjusted to Dunedin itself.
Yeah, like any advice you have for students that are looking to like explore the region. So like maybe the South Island or, the Dunedin or Otago region.
Okay. Yeah, so Dunedin is kind of isolated in a way. And so it's kind of like, it's one of the southernmost cities and it's pretty chilly, side note. And so a car is a good idea, or making friends that have cars. If we even talked about our roommates afterwards, we were like, we should have invested in a car on like the first week we got here, because it just makes getting around and traveling so much easier. Because like, yes, you can rent cars, but it gets expensive after a while, and then you don't want to rely on friends like all the time. And so if you're going to be there for like more than the semester, like if you're just planning on staying longer or even for a year for the visa, definitely look into getting a car. But also there is like intercity buses that will go to like Queenstown, Christchurch, but those are a little finicky and kind of hard to work around. But around Dunedin itself, they have a pretty good bus system, despite what the locals might say. They say it's kind of iffy, but I honestly didn't think the bus system was too bad. And so that's a good way to get around Dunedin itself. And then it's also a pretty walkable city too. So
Great. Yeah, and I would just really highlight like trying to make friends with locals that have cars too, because we try to recommend that students don't drive just because of the different, it's on the other side of they drive on the left, right? Other side. And so they have some windy roads and stuff like that. So yeah, finding local friends that have cars so you can just like jump in with them and throw some gas money their way. That's perfect. Jamie, do you want to elaborate a little bit on any advice you have for exploring the region?
Yeah, like Kylie said, and you guys said, make friends with people that have cars. And I think the bus in the city, it's great because you can it doesn't really seem like it's that far, and then you try to walk it and then it's awful. And so getting the bus pass and just taking advantage of that because it's super cheap. It's like $1 for a bus ride. And you can go out and doing that, but also making sure that you know where you're going, because I got lost with some friends of ours one time. We got off on the wrong bus stop. We tried to walk up to this castle, was on a completely back road. And so make sure you know where you're going and where you need to get off if you are on the bus. That's very important.
That's a good piece of advice. Kylie K, what about you?
System just because you're like in the central city. So like finding a bus or like a train was like really easy, and they'd be coming like every 10 to, which is way more preferable than the US, where like it takes like 30 minutes to an hour. And I'm in Oaks right now, and the bus doesn't even run on Sundays. So there's really like no way to get out besides having a car. But in Auckland, like you should be pretty well equipped, pretty much good to go. And of course it's a city, so there's so much to do within walking distance as well. So like the grocery store was like 15 to 20 minutes away, like walking distance, which is like so convenient. Yeah, so you don't have to really worry too much, I guess, when you're in the city. Everything's there, everything that you need. So yeah, take that fear away.
Perfect. And then Sam, you just arrived a few days ago, but can you share like where you're hoping to top locations that you're excited about going to during your semester?
One thing that comes to mind is I really want to go to Wellington and bungee jump off like the original bridge. I would love to do that. I want to explore Hobbiton, like everyone else said, it was a cool experience. And yeah, that's so far on my list right now.
Perfect. Yeah. Both of those locations, like Wellington is an amazing city, and then Hobbiton, like I'm not even a huge Lord of the Ring or Hobbit fan, and I even thought it was amazing. So definitely two great spots to check out. Okay, so moving on to a more serious topic, like switching gears back to the academic piece. So campus life and coursework can look pretty different to what we're used to here in the States. Kylie K, what was the University of Auckland like in comparison to your home institution?
Yeah, so it was quite different. I feel like in the US we have a lot of like busy work. So you're kind of required to go to class like every day that you had class, and then like you would have like small homework would add up to your final grade. In Auckland, it was not like that. It was like you get a midterm and a final, and that's like it. And that's like kind of relieving, because then like there's not too much pressure of like, oh, I have this homework assignment that I have to finish by, this time and things like that. But I would definitely say like the grading system was a lot harder. Like the teachers and the professors would grade at a much higher level. So they expected more of students. So I would say like putting more quality into your work was definitely something I recommend for students to do. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, that's great. And Jamie, same to you. How does Otago compare to your home University of Messiah?
Yeah, kind of like Kylie said, it's a lot of busy work. I'm a nursing major, and I just have so many like videos to watch on top of classwork, and then homework, and then tests and quizzes, and it's definitely very different at Otago. Most of my classes, I had 2 tests and an exam, like the final, or I had a paper and a final, which was really nice. Like it definitely freed up a lot of time to travel, which is one of the main reasons I was there. And so it made it really easy not to have like any guilty conscience, be like, oh no, I'm missing something. But on the flip side, you gotta stay on top of your due dates, and you gotta know, all right, do I know this stuff for the test? Do I need to start studying a week and a half in advance? And if I do, like, you have to do that. And then same with like a thing that was a really big shock was finals, because it's not like a week like you would probably have here where you do your classes up until Friday and then Monday through Thursday you have finals. It's like you do your classes up until Friday, you have until Wednesday off, and then there's 3 weeks of finals. And you could have a final on the very first day and you could have one on the very last day. And it might be great, but then you also got to worry about like, all right, if I'm studying 6 hours every single day for a week and a half, I'm going to burn out. So you have to pace yourself, and you have to be aware of your own limits for your brain and just your health in general.
Yeah, so it's like a balance of staying on top, like all that independent work and staying on top of your due dates and that sort of thing. We do have some students in the audience who have yet to apply. So Kylie K, can you talk about how far in advance did you have to apply for, or did you apply for the program, and any advice you would give for students who are yet to apply?
Yeah, of course. So my university does it a little bit different, where I had to submit an application to my university to get approved to go on the trip before I could submit my application for a teen. So my cutoff date for my university was March 1st, but the teen deadline was April 15th. So I would just say to make sure that you try to get in a little bit earlier. I know for my university, they could only accept, I think, maybe 2 people to study abroad in the University of Auckland. So it was kind of like on a first come, first serve basis. So just try to get all your stuff in as early as possible. And then also application process, making sure that you there's a lot of things that go into traveling, getting your passport, getting your visa. So I would just make sure that you have a passport that's not expiring, and I think it was like in about like 5 years, and to make sure that you have all of those in order to get your plane ticket, because you can't buy your plane ticket if you don't have a passport and your visa. So just making sure you have all of that before you go, because it can become like a really big scramble at the end right before you leave. So I would just recommend that.
Yeah, those are good recommendations. Sometimes we do have students that'll coordinate like a back-to-back semester of study abroad. So Sam, since you studied abroad in Thailand last semester, which I'm sure was amazing, and you're currently in New Zealand now, what did the application look like for you as you planned for like a full year abroad?
It was not actually a lot of planning that I was expecting. I knew I wanted to study abroad in Thailand and New Zealand a couple years before, so I looked for a program that offered both, and I applied to my university first to get accepted into the program, and then applied with teen. It was fun because I was still in Thailand while I was applying for classes in New Zealand. So it was super cool, like seeing the difference between the two. It was definitely, I'm guessing they're both countries are probably going to be a little bit different in academics, because Thailand was a lot more laid back with academics, unlike New Zealand. So I'm really excited to see the contrast and to experience the new culture compared to Thailand and the US.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. You'll be able to compare like 3 different countries and their academics and culture. For our audience members who have already applied, there are documents and do you have any advice on staying organized and how to navigate the process, the application?
Yeah, okay, so like on the teen application site, there's a list of stuff that you need to do by certain dates. Like get your passport done by this date, get your visa done by this date, you need your plane by this, like, so making sure that you know what that is and staying on top of that, obviously getting it done in advance because it'll just take a weight off of you. But knowing that, just know that they're not going to throw you a curveball. Like what's on there is the things you need to do. There's nothing that you need to do that's not on there. That's a worry of mine, is always a worry of mine. And I'm always feeling like, oh, I'm going to miss it or I'm going to not get something done. But as long as you stick to that you are going to be fine and you're going to get it all done. Like there's no hidden, oh, I didn't do this. Like there's nothing like that.
Great. Yeah. We'll stay on you if you're missing anything. But yeah, just kind of following along in that checklist. Kylie J, do you have any advice for staying organized throughout like the application process?
Jamie did pretty well with like hitting the highlights, just making sure to stay on top of the list. Also make use of your resources. Kate Hilby was my lifeline. I was emailing her and calling her like all the time because I had all these like things going on with my like passport and stuff. But so definitely use your resources. They're there to help you and they're great. And let's see, with the passport thing, if you don't have a passport or your passport is getting ready to expire within the next year, you need to get on it like today because the passport agency has been like kind of finicky recently because I've had several friends that have had issues with it as well. So definitely get on passports if you need to do that because you can't apply for a visa until you have a passport and all that stuff. So yeah, just being on top of things and being timely.
Yeah, passport is critical for the application process. So renewing or applying for that is, yeah, definitely take care of that as soon as you can. Okay, so we are going to kind of switch a little bit. So knowing what you know now, kind of like a hindsight situation, what advice would you give to your former self before going abroad? Kylie K, let's start with you.
Oh, advice. I would say just making sure that you have everything before traveling. I know for me, it was really, really stressful because you're going to a whole different country. So just making sure that you have everything packed. I know for me, like I have medicines that I need that are only available in the US as compared to like New Zealand, which is like so different. So making sure that I had everything that I would need throughout the semester that would last me throughout the semester before going. And that includes packing for the weather as well, especially for you people that are traveling in the fall, they have opposite seasons. So you have to make sure that you plan in advance and you have everything that you need. Because I know for me, I get so cold. I mean, I'm from Hawaii, so it's a much different climate. So I would say like pack a really thick jacket and know that it's going to be cold, like an umbrella because it gets really rainy in Auckland. Yeah, so just making sure you prepare for things in advance.
Great advice. Jamie, what advice would you give your former self?
I definitely what you said about leather. I can't tell you how many times I wish I had another sweatshirt with me. I overestimated my ability to live in the cold, and I was like, I don't need that many sweatshirts. No, you're gonna want them. It's nice to have them. And if I could have changed something, I would have changed the way that I worked before I left. I would have done different works because you're gonna need money. It's like, I mean, you need money to live, but the amount of trips that you can do it for cheap. You can stay in hostels. You can rent a car with people, and you can do it for cheap. But there's also things you're gonna want to do that will cost money. So making sure that you just have that little bit of extra cash to do those things that you want to do. Like we went to Fiji. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I hadn't worked the way that I did, but you're also going to want to go bungee jumping or zip lining or whatever. And so just having that money to not stress about it. And you're going to be buying groceries. So work. That's my biggest advice.
Yes, that sounds great. And what about you, Kylie J?
I have a couple things. First thing, I would reconsider buying a 2-week ticket if you're thinking about like if you want to like go and leave, because I did that and I ended up staying longer for an internship and had to deal with the hassle of like changing tickets and all that stuff, and that was a nightmare. So if you even have the slightest idea of staying longer, just buy a one-way ticket and do your ticket on the way back later on. And then take every opportunity to try something new. Like you're in a new country and you're meeting lots of new people. So like if someone like from one of your classes asks you to go like try out this like activity, or if you're like, maybe I should go bungee jumping, do it. Go bungee jumping, because it's so fun. It's so fun. And it just like enriches your character, and you might find like a new hobby or a new like interest that you didn't know you had. And like Jamie said, save money, because if you're not working now, start working so you can have that savings, and so you can do all these fun things. And there's free stuff too. It's not like you have to have money to do everything, but there are things that cost money. And then, oh yeah, planned weekends in advance, because you'll get there and you'll be all excited and you'll be like, wow, I have so much time. I have like 4 months to do all these things. And then you blink and 3 weeks have gone by. And so make sure you plan out weekends and do some research. I like got a bunch of brochures from New Zealand and Dunedin and just like looked up different activities to do, and just kind of like see where I had white space in my calendar and try to be like, I'm gonna do it then. And yeah, just explore the city and explore New Zealand. So
those are great tips. Yeah, really good. And Sam, you have your whole semester ahead of you still, but any advice you would give your former self before departing? Obviously, I know you had some unusual circumstances with travel, but anything else, and even from your time in Thailand?
For my time in Thailand, I would highly recommend bringing less clothes than you think you would need. I brought way too many clothes the first time around, and I actually had to buy another suitcase there and bring a lot of my stuff home. So that was unfortunate. So it was a lot of pack late. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And another thing is, don't go traveling every weekend, or like at least space your weekends out, because when I was in Thailand, I traveled every single weekend. I never had any downtime, and that definitely takes a toll on you. So I would try to space it out a little bit.
Yeah, those are good pieces of advice. For the packing, we always say like pack what you think you'll need and take half of it out, kind of thing. And then yeah, good tip on not traveling every weekend. I mean, obviously balancing wanting to explore the country and the region with like really getting to know your local city too. Awesome. Okay, so last but not least for our questions for our panel today, students always talk about kind of like studying abroad being a life-changing, like it changed their life, and it really does. What was that moment for you that you'll never forget? Kylie K, let's start with you.
Yeah, for me, I actually had like the unique opportunity of working in New Zealand. I know it might not be like an option for everyone, knowing that like we were on working holiday visas compared to student visas, but I'm pretty sure students can work if they so choose in New Zealand. But for me, it was definitely a life-changing like opportunity, because I got to meet like so many people through work. Like I just worked at like a small like family-owned business. It was like a small little cafe, but I made like a whole second family there. And like I don't know, I just thought it was really, really cool to get to meet people through working, people in the community. And then everyone in New Zealand is just so nice. I used to have like customers that would come in and be like, oh, you're the Hawaii girl, it's nice to see you. I'm like, yeah, it's nice to see you too, Paul, things like that. But for me, it was just, I don't know, I just really like the small, like simple things. So I don't know, I would like highly recommend it if anyone is looking, for a few extra spending monies and things like that. If you want to, you can always pick up a part-time job or something. And I don't know, I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Jamie, what about you? What was the moment that you'll never forget?
I think it was like realizing that you don't need to like depend on someone else. Like I have this habit of calling my parents whenever when we were going to Fiji, I was like, oh, can I go to Fiji? And they're like, oh, we don't care, do what you want. And like I was just walking down the street and I was like bringing my groceries back, which was a hassle in itself. But I was like, I'm buying groceries in another country and I'm 9,000 miles away from my parents. I've lived here for 3 months already. I have my own apartment. I go to school. I mean, I don't have a job, but I have some money. And it was like, I can do not like do whatever I want, but like you can kind of do whatever you want. Like you can, like you don't have to worry, you don't have to have someone tell you what to do, and you can just like do it. And you can be like, oh, I don't need to wait for someone to be like, let's, I don't know, let's go to Mount Cook for the weekend. Or granted, a lot of people in my flat would be like, we're doing this, and I'd be like, oh, all right, I had no idea what was going on half the time. But you don't have to feel like you need to be tied down to one space. You don't have to be like, oh, I can't do that, because you can. Like it's something that you can do because you're in another country. Like what else can't you do?
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of personal growth there to resilience and that sort of thing. So that's great. Kylie, what about you? Kylie J.
New Zealand was life-changing for me. I'm actually planning to go back there and live there at some point in my life. So that's how life-changing it was. I just like the culture, like I in conservation biology major, and like the entire culture is like has like a heart and focus for like preserving like wildlife, and I absolutely love it. And like natural resources, that was one thing. And just like New Zealand just feels like a far off like country that's tucked away in the corner and you don't think about. And like one of my biggest worries was like finding community when I got there. But the New Zealand culture is so welcoming, and like so just like opened my eyes to like how community can be found literally every corner of the world. And then probably like this is my photography side of things. One moment I will never forget is I got to see the Southern Lights, which is the Aurora Australis in the Catlins, and I was literally like screaming. It was so beautiful because, oh my gosh, New Zealand's just gorgeous. You need to go there just simply to see the beauty of it. It's I can't get over it. But.
And Sam, I know you'll have a whole semester of life-changing moments coming up, and hopefully building more memories than just your travel struggles with the cyclone. But did you want to share any kind of like that aha moment or something like that from your time in Thailand?
Honestly, it was just like making local friends. I am like going over and just like going over to their houses or like them driving us around and stuff. That was a life changing for me, making friends in a different country and then having the ability to go back and see them. I think that was my most favorite part about it.
Perfect. Yeah, and a whole semester coming up too of new memories. Thank you again to our alumni panel. It was so great seeing you all.
Thank you so much for having us.
Take care, everyone. Thanks for joining today. Bye-bye.